David's about to do an exercise for you that's going to show you what he's learned in the movie industry, that from the top movies, the top TV shows, the top screenplays, on how to take what they do and how to apply it into what you do. And the reason on that is that when you're taking the top brands of what you're trying to create to stand out differently than who you are to everybody else, because of all the noise that's out there, David goes and he creates a thing that he's going to call the character diamond. And it's basically where you take the essence of the brand of a TV show, the character that draws everybody in, the one that keeps you coming back to watch the show week after week or to see the series. So when you're looking at this, I'd encourage you to do is write down the things I'm going, how can I use this for my business, for my snap, for my message, and apply it immediately. And so I wanted to go ahead and have this opportunity to tell you that's what I'd be focused on, because this is one of the most brilliant men in the industry of Hollywood that I know today. So he has been asked to write the screenplay of The Art of War with an unknown director called Oliver Stone. Ladies and gentlemen, David Freeman is in the house.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Greg. And thank you, Eric, the most awesome individual in the universe. I bumped into him early in Secret Knock and told him that I carry around his little Habitude book with me. There's always some piece of wisdom in it that I can draw from every day. It's just the kind of thing that you want to stick in your briefcase or your purse, although I usually leave my purse at home. I'm very forgetful. All right, so how to make your elevator pitch so unique, fresh, and compelling that people demand to hear more, taking someone from so what to tell me more to wow. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, first of all, raise your hand if you like movies. Okay, and now raise your hand if I asked you, could you tell me 10 movies you've enjoyed? The last one has to be at least a year ago. How many of you could tell me about at least 10 movies that you've liked in your life? All right, and raise your hand if you could tell me 10 elevator pitches you've heard that you can still remember a year later. An elevator pitch is when someone pitches you their business, their product, their service in 1 to 4 sentences. How about 10 elevator pitches you've heard in the last month that you can still remember? Well, that's the problem right there. All of us have to communicate what we do and our uniqueness and our distinctive brand and why people should pay us well for our services. And yet this is difficult for not just small businesses and consultants, but for large businesses as well. And we're going to today take a look at how to do that. Now, there is a formula known in Hollywood on how to create these blockbuster films. Now, part of the formula is knowing how to disguise the formula so people don't know you're following a formula. And elevator pitches are stories, just like Hollywood films, told at warp speed. And therefore, there must be a formula for creating an amazing, compelling, memorable, emotionally engaging, distinctive elevator pitch as well. That's what we're going to be looking at today. So the reason that you can't recall many elevator pitches you've heard in your life is because most of them are so what? Normally, when you go to a networking event, how many people do you follow up with? Well, this one is an abnormal networking event because you'll probably follow up with lots of people, but normally it's 1 or 2 people. And when other people follow up with their contacts that they've made, you want to be one of those 1 or 2 people that they follow up with. I see this all the time. People let money walk out the door because they don't communicate their distinctive brand concisely in these opportunities. So God Influence, that's kind of my brand as I try to help people become thought leaders and influential in their field so that they can get paid what they're worth. The reason that I've cut back my work in entertainment to half time is so that I can help people who have a lot to give. I'm sure all of you offer unique value in the services and products that you create to people, and it's kind of heartbreaking when you have something of worth to communicate or give to someone else through your products and services and whatever kind of help that you do offer, and it's not received because you haven't gotten the messaging down in a way that attracts the clients that you're looking for. Positioning. So positioning is when you tell somebody what you do, and it usually doesn't work. it's usually a bad way to go. If I say, well, I operate a company that takes corporate personnel out on hikes into the hills and we do team building exercises. Okay, if I'm the only one in San Diego that does that, great. Or if I'm the one who's known best in this field, great. No more needs to be said. The problem comes when there are 3 competitors down the road who do the same thing, who look just as qualified, who have just as much experience, and now, what is that corporation going to do? They're going to go for whoever's cheapest. And thus you get into this downward financial pressure on your services, which I'm sure everybody has encountered at one point or another. And you don't want that. So therefore, this is the problem with positioning. It's great if you have no competition, but if you have competition, it doesn't differentiate you from the competition, because when they say what they do, they say the exact same words that you do, or something very similar. And also, positioning doesn't cause any emotional engagement. Again, if you have no competition, positioning is fine. What you want, though, is further differentiation, and you want emotional engagement so people care about what you have to offer. And that is what we call branding. And that's what we'll be looking at. Now, information is not an experience. This is something that I say very frequently. Meaning, if I say, well, here's the information about what I do. I take corporate personnel up into the hills to do team building exercises. That's information. I haven't given you an emotional experience, and I haven't said anything that would make me memorable if my competition says the exact same thing. Experience is emotional, and this is why you remember movies and you don't remember elevator pitches, because they gave you an emotional experience when you saw them. Well, if you're doing warp speed storytelling, which is elevator pitches, then you should be able to give an emotional experience in 1 to 4 sentences. There is an exact formula to do this. Now, if you're going to create emotion, what kind of emotions you're going to create in the listener? Well, the emotions you're going to create in the person who's listening to your elevator pitch are the same emotions that you would create if you were writing a Hollywood movie. And you know that's my background, film and television. So you want to move someone the way a drama moves you. You want to delight them or be fun. I'm sure every comedy that you've ever seen has done that you've enjoyed. You want to excite them or increase their aliveness, like an action movie, amaze or astonish them, like some of my favorite science fiction movies. You want to inspire or uplift them, maybe Avatar or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon did that for you. Intrigue them, like a mystery, or be thought-provoking. I'm sure all of you have seen films before where you came out thinking about stuff. A lot of the early Star Trek TV episodes were very thought-provoking. Now, this is where I purposely try to confuse you. You're looking at this chart, you go, I don't know what that means. What is all this stuff? This is the formula that we're going to be using, and all of you are going to have an opportunity to practice it right now after I explain exactly how to use it and give you a bunch of examples on how this can be applied to your particular brand. A few of you have already helped you with this during the last couple of days. Raise your hand if I've helped any of you with your elevator pitches. There are a few, thank you. Here, I see. Everybody who gets near me, I go, well, what do you do? And I immediately start giving them, oh, why don't you try fixing your elevator pitch like this? So you would take, for instance, one or two of the things on the left-hand column, like the process or function of what your company offers, and then you would find something astonishing or amazing or anything from the right-hand column, 1 or 2 things from the right-hand column. You don't try to brand everything you do, but one aspect of it. Let's get on this elevator and take a look at exactly how to apply this system that I'm presenting here. Example, 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 and then give you an opportunity to do it as well. Before I do, raise your hand if sometimes you have had a difficult time in a short period of time communicating what's unique about your consultancy or business. Yeah, this is and don't feel bad about it unless you had training as a storyteller or as a writer. There's no reason or no way that you probably would have acquired this expertise. It's a storytelling skill. So this particular example is not an elevator pitch. This was told to me by someone in a networking situation who was telling me that he didn't know how to give an elevator pitch. All of the examples I'm going to be giving you, boom, 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 are taken directly from networking opportunities that I have found myself in the last couple of months, or clients that I've worked with. I'm a personal trainer, but people often worry that if I work with them, it's going to be like boot camp. My wife is a nutritionist and works with me, but people don't see why they need both of us. And yes, it does paint a kind of strange picture in your mind if you try to see how these two go together. So this gentleman had 2 problems. One, people didn't want to go to boot camp, and number two, they didn't see why they needed the wife. Big challenge. So I tried to think, how can we solve this problem he has about the boot camp and the situation of how to synthesize what he does with his wife. And I focused on aliveness. Can you remember a time when you felt especially alive? My wife and I will help you feel that way every day for the rest of your life. We'll get you there at your own speed, and you'll have fun every step along the way. Now, doesn't that sound a little bit more attractive than some of the personal trainers that you see buffed up coming up to you in these networking events saying, and they are going to give you caveman strength, but maybe you don't feel like being a caveman. Maybe you just want to have fun when you go to the gym. Maybe you don't want to have somebody cracking a whip over you. Maybe you do. It's fine, but not everybody. So this gets rid of all the friction in his elevator pitch because now we've made it fun. But let's get more specific and take a look at how I'm applying in this elevator pitch the system that I just introduced to you. So started with the process or function. I help people with aliveness, and of course, what we're doing here is focusing on not strength, but increased aliveness and fun. Problem solved. Okay, so this company makes about $100 million a year distributing their goods around the world, and we make luxurious kitchen and bathroom fixtures, all of which are manufactured in Europe with great care. Sounds good to me, except that they have a lot of competition. Again, if they were the only ones in the world who did this, no problem. No emotion there, just information. Information is not an experience. So, I thought about the Renaissance. There's a secret that's been known by the greatest European artisans since the Renaissance and passed down from master to apprentice. It's that materials have a life of their own. And when materials are combined with exquisite forms, they can enhance and even change lives. With our fixtures, we bring this Renaissance tradition into the 21st century and into your home. It was pretty funny. I originated this. I was in a Vistage meeting, which is these groups, there's Young Presidents Organization and there's Vistage groups where CEOs of companies, usually B2B companies, grossing about 5 to 100 million gather. And I speak at these things. And I said this, and he's like, pulls out his iPhone, and goes, say that again, say that again. I go, absolutely, no problem, just hire me and I'll say it again. I'm sure all of you have experienced that there's something that you're very good with, that's very easy to you, that you've probably been giving away too much and not charging for. Yeah. My business partner kicks me under the table whenever I do this. Like, we always sit next to each other in a meeting, so because he kicks me whenever I'm about to do this. He says, you're making it look too easy. But for you, I don't mind. So I took the history, the Renaissance, and I made it intriguing. Like, what is this thing? How do materials have a life? Let me think about that. That's intriguing. And how do you bring it into the 21st century? That's very thought-provoking. Now, when we were doing this Snap networking event the other day, how many people came to your table and said, I am a life coach in one form or another? A lot of people here. How many people are life coaches in one form or another here? Yeah, well, you as a group have the most difficulty because all of your elevator pitches, without exception, to me, sounded alike, of the ones that I heard. And here is one, not from this group, but from a previous group. Somebody came up to me and said, I had leukemia, but I'm fully cured. Not many are. And I want to be a motivational speaker and talk about my experiences. And he said it in a kind of sad way, and I thought about hospital beds. I didn't feel very motivated. I didn't feel very enlivened. So this was my rewrite. When people are caught in a war and the bullets are flying and the bombs are exploding, they run to safety. But where can you flee when you're being attacked by your own body? I had leukemia, but now I'm cured. People who've been at war have lessons they've learned and they have stories to tell. I have lessons I've learned, and I have stories to tell. Right. Thank you. Thanks. So what did I do there in terms of this system that I've introduced to you? I started with a metaphor. I compared his disease to war. Images have all sorts of emotions involved. This is why the use of images is so great when you're giving a speech, because the image brings along with it all of the emotions you have associated with it. And also his history of having leukemia, and try to craft a moving story out of it. Storytelling at warp speed is just like the movies. And we're creating the same kinds of emotions that one would try to create with a film script. Okay, this is the last one that I'm going to go through with you before you do your elevator pitch, and we have a little opportunity here for some back and forth. Would you like that, if I help you guys? Okay, great, we'll do that. We move heavy machinery. This company also is extremely successful. This is in one of those Vistage groups where I was speaking. This gentleman was talking about the process or function of what his company does. And then another guy in the group said, no, he's not saying it right. I went, oh? He says, no, they move heavy machinery really safely and really fast. And I said, well, why is that important? He says, because the company that's paying for the machinery to be moved then can get it utilized in their factory very quickly and start making money for it. So there's a big financial benefit to getting the machinery there safely and fast. And I went, good, but not good enough. Because the trouble is, if you look on the internet for companies that move heavy machinery, these guys have a lot of competition. Again, if they were the only game in town, no problem. But since they're not the only game in town, problem. And then I recalled that I had actually seen a little movie, time-lapse photography movie, of this company moving some heavy machinery. And it was the Endeavour Space Shuttle. They had moved the Endeavour Space Shuttle to the Science Museum where it is now. It's an incredible time-lapse photography movie. This on the internet. And so this was my rewrite. NASA hired us to move the space shuttle, the most difficult moving job in the solar system, not just because we're safer and faster than anyone else, but also because we're cooler. And the guy jumped up, he literally jumped out of his seat and he goes, we are cool, it's like you know us, we really are cool. I said, of course you're cool, you moved the space shuttle. We're in discussions. That's all I can say. And by the way, and they didn't even get a scratch. And if you see it, they're winding the space shuttle down main boulevards. They're like removing telephone poles to do it. They're winding through residential streets. It's really quite something. And I said to him, you should fire your head of marketing because this should be on your landing page. And he goes, I'm the head of marketing. I go, fire yourself. So what I did here, in terms of storytelling, in terms of using the formula which I've introduced to you, is I kept the process of moving and the safety and fast, but added some emotion to it. I added amazement and astonishment while they move the space shuttle, and some fun. It's the most difficult moving job in the solar system. So they're kind of making fun of themselves a little bit, and everybody enjoys that. So now, before we go into your elevator pitches, which I'm very eager to hear, a few of them, as much as we have time. To get a blueprint on how to create an elevator pitch, they'll have people calling you back. All you need to do is text the name David, small case, capital, doesn't really matter, to that number. So at this point, we have time for just a few of you to feed me your elevator pitches, and I'd love to hear, do we have a microphone we can run around the room? Oh, thank you.
Rich is simply telling a story of answers you found in your research. I can help you tell your story and publish your answers to touch those you want to help most.
Okay, you went fast. I didn't quite hear. Research is something with research.
Research is simply telling a story of answers you found in your research. I can help you tell your story and publish your answers to touch those you want to help most.
And are you a ghostwriter? What are you?
I'm a publisher, a doctoral publisher of an award-winning series called The Refractive Thinker.
The what?
Award-winning series of The Refractive Thinker. It's a doctoral anthology where we take 400-page dissertations, we cull them down to 10-page executive summaries so we can translate academia.
Of what kind of science?
Academic research like leadership, DBA programs, PhD programs, things like that.
Okay, good. You're doing valuable work. You're doing something that the world needs and that these writers need. They want to have greater distribution for their work and get it known. I assume that once the abstracts are written, then people can go back to the original research, right?
Correct.
Okay, fishhooks. Basically, you're creating published fishhooks. You want to hook the reader and then reel them in back to the original PhD thesis, correct?
We could do that, that's one.
Okay, good. My first instinct would be to say, well, I assume then you're presenting at academic conferences. That's who you would be speaking to?
Normally, I like to go into the business world as well, yeah. Right.
And why in the business world?
Because
believe a lot of the research is kept on the coffee table. People get their doctorate and it never goes out into the world. It just sits there because it helps them earn their degree.
There is nothing sadder than the death of a baby. The research that you have spent months or years on is your baby. And babies bring joy into the world. The research that you've done is important. You did it for a reason. You wanted it to change people in the world. We create a published portal for your abstracts so that people can find their way back to your original research and derive the benefit that you put your heart into. Woo! Thank you. I really appreciate all of your energy, and you give it by standing up and volunteering.
Leadership is the most important commodity in the world, and it's also the scarcest. Just think of all of the people that hate their job.
Who what?
All of the people that hate their job. I'm the oldest person in the world to have climbed the highest point on each of the 7 continents, and now take senior executives on transformational leadership expeditions, life-changing experiences.
Thank you. All right. Thanks a lot. When I was in high school, you could sit. And you did that very well, the sitting part, and the speaking part. Okay, so when I was in high school, I had an English teacher who would give anyone an F if they used the word existential. And the reason is, he said, no one knows what it means. And therefore, automatic F. It was just a way, it was a word that students used at the time to sound more intelligent than they actually were. So I don't blame him. I wish I could get rid of the words transformational. I really do. I have heard it so much. And it's not a bad word. It's what I call a dead word. When a word is used too often, it becomes dead language. That song that Wayne was singing the other day, Time for a Cool Change. What is a cool change? You know, it's like it's a live language. It makes you think. It wakes you up. Dead language is just ignored. We just fall asleep. We don't remember it. But you've got a big hook there, right? Because you're the oldest person to climb
The highest mountain on each of the 7 continents.
Okay, so that's good. You got to get that in there. The leadership thing, okay, let me just work with this for a moment.
7 on 7 at 77.
What makes a great leader? Followers. By the way, just a little note, I've been in companies, I've worked for companies where the CEO thinks that he or she's a great leader because there's so many people who follow them. They follow them because they need to pay off their mortgage. That's the only reason they follow them. If that person went to another company, they would not follow the person. Those are not followers. Those are employees who want a paycheck. All right. There's something every leader needs. There's something that defines every leader. Followers. People who follow them voluntarily, not just because they have to. And to exude that leadership quality is not just a matter of great decisions, but there is a presence. You have to command warmly and lovingly, but you have to command nonetheless from the top of the mountain. I am the oldest person to climb the top of the biggest 7 mountains in the world. Let me take you to the top of the mountain, and you will imbibe that presence.
Thank you.
So, using the system here, I worked in the information, the positioning, right? But I used the mountain as a metaphor. I had not been doing this with the other people who've spoken so far, but I went to the metaphor of the mountain and really used that to its full extent as emotional messaging, you see? And I went from there to a moving experience, and also a little bit amazing, because you are amazing. Well, either amazing or awesome. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out, but you're between. One more? Yes. Go for it.
I met a woman in Africa who, as a girl, crawled through the jungles of Uganda to escape Idi Amin. She now serves the orphans of Kenya, and I serve her.
Well, I don't think I can improve on that. Except a little bit. Remember, Greg began by talking about service and why he has kind of banished that word from his vocabulary. Because it has a little bit of a slavery kind of connotation. Help does not, for instance. So what do you do for this woman? This girl, it sounds like the girl's still, it's a little confusing. It sounds like the girl's still a girl.
I
How old
met a
is she?
woman in Kenya who, as a girl, crawled through the jungles of Uganda to escape Idi Amin.
Wait, the mother had her daughter crawl through this jungles? As a girl. Okay, and now the woman does what?
She has a school for orphans.
And what do you do?
I am the benefactor with a 501c3 here in San Diego that provides all the educational, medical, and nutritional needs for over 1,000 every day.
Okay, so what I'm about to say is not going to improve what you just said. It's just a different take for the purpose of demonstration. Is that all right? Just another way to go about it. What part of Africa?
Kenya.
Kenya. What's the rainfall situation in Kenya right now?
It varies, but
Okay.
they are on the edge of the only remaining rainforest in all of Kenya.
Okay. People go, you look like you're spacing out. No, I'm actually thinking. I've heard this all the time. Why do you roll your eyes like
You're
that? It's like, I'm
envisioning.
thinking. It's what Proctor said. Think. Okay, have a seat. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, let's clap for her.
And anyone who
Last
wants
one,
to help
and then
me.
one. Plants need rain, and some plants are more vital to our survival than other plants, and they need rain the most. And the plant which is most needy of rain is called the human spirit, because it doesn't get much nourishment in this world, and especially if you grow up in a country which is commanded by a dictator who kills people on whim and tortures people on whim. The school I work for takes orphans from destroyed, shattered families and rekindles their spirits in a place of safety. Someone has to bring the rain. I bring the rain, and that rain is called money. Can you help me? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everybody, you've given me your time, you've given me your attention, and you're very generous with both. Thank you so much.
What?
Thank you.
What?
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.